You don't need a lifetime to build a self-sustaining business, one that operates without you, but thrives better with you. Your freedom will come when you invest in your people, lead with purpose, and streamline your operations.
You don't want to never count yourself out, make it a great one. Just be sure to leave out the doubt, time to wake up.
Hi, I'm Harrison Tash, and with me today is Jason. We're talking about our 8 to Great framework. More specifically, though, we're talking about the foundational 4, the first 4 components of this framework. And today we're talking about vision.
Vision.
Define it. What are we talking about when we say vision?
There is a lot of things that come to mind, I'm sure, for all of us. We've heard a lot about vision. I like how you've said it over and over and over. Vision is a compelling future that drives action.
Yeah, it inspires action. Gives us something to move towards, right?
Shapes
a
direction.
Yeah. So when we're talking about vision, that's as simple as it is, right? We're trying to give our teams, our employees, this future of what we think our company looks like. I think we have this innate longing to want to know where we're going. You know, when you're young and you're just coming out of school and someone's like, what do you want to do with your life? You may not know, but you do have some variables that you do know. Like, I want to, get my own house. I want to maybe start a family. I want to buy that new truck. You have these things that you're like, I know that I'm working towards these. And so what does it do? It gives you motivation to then work towards it, even if you don't put it on paper, right?
I think we can go all the way back to about the time we could begin to start talking, and we're in the car and we have no control over the temperature, over the music. Over the direction when we stop, if we stop. What do we have control over? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
We're always asking,
are we there yet?
That's
and
a good
I think
point.
our teams want to know.
Yeah.
Where are we going? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about this. So though vision is this future state, when you say, are we there yet? The answer is no. Right. We're actually never going to get there, but we're going to share what our vision is as we keep going. And we're going to break this down. We have 2 parts of vision that I think are very important, which is the always vision and the horizon vision. But before we do that, let's talk about what it causes if we don't have vision in our companies. There's 3 there: confusion, misalignment, and employees being detached from the company.
Yeah, I agree. I think without vision, mission drift it's going to happen. You're going to get off the rails. You're going to get so focused on whatever it is you're doing that you're going to lose sight of where you're going.
Yeah.
And you're going to let other people's demands start dictating the direction that you go. So vision is very important, but it's also important for the team because they want to know.
Yeah.
Are we on our way? Are we well on our way? Are we doing well on our way? How's it going? And so confusion, like, what is this? What's the purpose? What are we doing here?
Right.
Misalignment. Teams begin to take on their own entity. They begin to take on their own leadership thoughts because it doesn't seem like anyone knows where we're going. So I'm going to step up.
Yeah.
And you begin to have people start taking your company in different directions.
Yeah. And when we think about this, the opposite of that is that we have clarity, we have confidence, and we have an engaged workforce. And so what vision does is it aligns people to be a part of it. Or it also, we don't think of this, we think of this as counterintuitive, I think, but it also allows people to step out of the organization if they don't align with your vision.
Right.
So this is a detract and attract. Right.
It absolutely helps bring definition to your yeses and your nos.
Exactly.
Which is so good.
Yeah. So now that we've defined why behind it, let's go into the 2 types of vision that we think are really important. So the first one is the always vision. And so if you can imagine yourself thinking about the future, you have this distant future that you're thinking of. And we actually sometimes don't do this well because we only want to think about what's happening next year. So this might cause, for some, it might cause a little ambiguity. It seems a little too misaligned, like, okay, I don't think that we can even think that far out. But if we don't think that far out, then what do we have to attach our objectives to?
Right.
Our next plans to? So the first one's always vision. And it's this idea that as you do have this 10 plus year type of outlook for your company, it doesn't mean it's all going to be true. And I think that's, maybe you could talk on this, but if you say, oh, 10 years out, we're kind of looking at this as what we're wanting to drive towards.
Right.
This feels a little vulnerable to people sometimes, right?
I think it's a wide scope. I don't think it's as granular and detailed.
Yes, yeah.
The bigger you get, the more you can get detailed about your always
Right.
vision, because you're
Yeah.
starting to color in some of the lines a little bit, and you can see and you can begin to put more concrete things into your long-term vision. Maybe it's the size of a company, maybe it's a type of operation, revenue, or
Yeah.
the amount of places that you want to be. But until then, you're really also describing the quality of service. You could be talking about the place in a thought leader or an industry leader of where you want to be. So you could widen that scope out a little bit so that your vision that's getting you there is lining up to who you want to be 10 plus years from now.
Well, and I love how you say that. It's broad scope. And so when you talk about characteristics of what we're wanting to work towards, it does not have to be so just detailed that when you start to get off course, people are like, well, I thought we were doing this. And I think that's why it feels vulnerable, because you think you're going to have people come back and be like, well, I thought we were going to open up 3 territories. I thought we were going to. And so I think there is some vulnerability in this, but that's why it's flexible, and that's why it is broad. You have to ask for grace in this. Guys, we need to plan this far out as far as showing where we might be going. But at the end of the day, we're not going to hold ourselves to this as this is the absolute. Right. We do have to be flexible in it.
Yeah.
Which in the 10 plus year, I think it is good to give yourself a revenue goal. I think that's the tangible piece of it, which is like, yeah, we do want to be this $15, $20 million company. And here's why, though. And then we talk about why. Why is it so important that we do this? Well, it creates opportunity for our community, creates opportunity for the people in our organization to grow and not feel stagnant, right? And then you talk about your impact. Like there's an impact that we're making on our community, abroad, or what have you, right?
Right.
So those are the things that I think are very tangible about it. And I give a few examples. So we have a client who's like, hey, we want to be a top distributor in the United States. And if you put a date by it, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. But like you said, broad, we're looking 10 plus years out. But now you get to then say, how do we work backwards from this?
Right.
We say, okay, if this is what we're thinking in 10 plus years, where do we need to be in 5? And this is where we get into the horizon vision, which is kind of this, okay, we're over this mountain and we can see the next mountain. What is it? What's going to take us 3 to 5 years out now? And this is what we would call the horizon vision. So defining it in that manner, it's a little bit more clear. And you talk about being broad on the always vision. Now we get to be a little bit more clear on what it means in the horizon vision.
Right. If I can give just a quick example that puts them both together. Years ago, many years ago, I worked for a finance company that at the time they were one of the leading businesses in finance. And they specialized in retail finance, and then they began to grow in mortgage finance and wholesale. All good, somewhat aligned. An opportunity came where they wanted to start getting involved in record producing.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Today they're bankrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, just cut to the end of the story.
Yeah.
They were leading and growing, and they were being able to grow their market share and become an industry leader in how they were doing it. And this opportunity for revenue came, and there was this creative thought, and talk about mission drift.
Yeah.
Finance to producing records and making, and it was their demise.
Yeah.
So why do you have to have this 3-5 year kind of vision? It's what's going to keep you aligned. It's going to keep some guardrails up.
Yeah.
And you're checking along the way. Hey, does this ultimately get us where we see ultimately we want to be, what we ultimately want to see that's true of us?
Yep.
That's why having these horizon visions are so important.
That's so good. And I think you could listen to that story and just be like, that's one of how many companies. But the truth is, we see it in the small businesses too, where it's you have these services, and then it's like, well, let's add this service. No, let's add this service. And you're starting to drift from where you want to be. And so to your point, that's why it's so important that it creates focus. It creates focus in where we want to go and how we get there. So let's talk about, when we're talking about the horizon vision, let's start talking about how we step this out. So if we're creating our own, let's go back to the always vision. When we're creating our own always vision, we talked about putting our revenue out there, which is good. Right. Then there's some steps of like, okay, list out the characteristics, those kind of things. Now let's move to the horizon vision where we're kind of defining what's the steps in this. So we talked about 3 to 5 years. There's some milestones in there that you might have. So if we were to kind of make this practical for individuals that are listening, it's like, what are these milestones that we have on the 3 to 5, and how do we make it practical enough to where people are compelled to want to go with us? Can't all be about money, right?
Right. Yeah, this is where you got to invest in yourself. You got to invest. Proves the point. If you don't know where you want to be ultimately in your always vision, you're going to get lost every 3 to 5 years. You're going to redefine yourself. You're going to remake yourself. So when you're thinking about milestones, all right, so you could do revenue.
Yeah. Right? Revenue is a starting point.
Revenue's a good one. What are some others that come to mind?
First off, teams love starting with revenue. It's like, that's a number.
Right.
Yeah, okay, we could be another 5, 10 million. Yeah, start with a number. That's good. We do that for them mostly because it feels good, right? And it does help you in your planning for finances, right? If you think about it, if you're not going to budget your financials to help you allocate for some of these initiatives, you probably won't have the money when you need it.
Probably true.
Right?
Probably true.
All right, so then other milestones. I talked about a top distributor in the U.S., as a always vision. In the horizon vision, what about your region?
Right.
What about your territory? What about your own community? Do you want to be a leader in your own community? You cannot be a leader here or be a leader in a whole as the U.S. if you can't be a leader here.
Yeah, market share.
Market share. Yeah.
Right.
So we take some of these on the horizon vision and we say, how are we going to make it as a leader in this industry, in this market? And then once you have that horizon vision and you have it clearly articulated of the characteristics you need, the milestones you need, okay, well, we need a software that will help us scale this business. Part of the vision in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to transform our business to cloud-based. We're going to transform our business and invest in this kind of software. Right. We're going to develop this, right? By the way, we're going to need about 10 more employees, and here's the key leadership spots we need, right? So now your horizon is becoming more and more clear to individuals in your company. They're saying, okay, we're going to bring on some more people. We're going to invest in software. Here's one of the best parts I think about the horizon vision, because it does get a little bit more clear and tangible. It's not as broad as the always. It also helps align the ask of people. So if they know you're investing in this stuff, if you've ever had people in your organization that are like, hey, I need a raise, or hey, I haven't had a raise in 5 years, right? Okay, treat your people well, give them a raise. But have you ever had the person that comes back 6 months after 6 months asking for a raise? You're aligning it. Well, hey, remember when we said we're going to invest in this? This money that we're saving is not going to the top line. Yeah, this is going to investments, right? Are you a part of it? Do you want to be on the train for this, right?
So that could be a milestone. You talk about revenue. We talk about market share.
Yeah.
You also need to have a milestone of how you're improving. Maybe it's your total compensation and benefits. Yeah. So you want to be a place that not only attracts employees but retains them.
Yeah.
So how can you be a place that's attracting talent, acquiring talent, and retaining talent? So that could be a milestone.
Yeah.
And then maybe another one could be you want to be a household name. You want to be just a household name with brand integrity.
Yeah.
That's a milestone that you can start working to that will give you some real tangible things that you can do to know if you're achieving those. So again, it comes back to your managing your yeses and nos. You can't invest in everything if you're going to invest in your employees.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have a line there that you really
have a roadmap.
Absolutely.
It's a roadmap to help you get to those, right?
It's a great image.
And if you think about it, if you're on this road and you talk about, course correcting, and you have these tangible things on the horizon. This is where we're going. You didn't have a road to pick.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're going here. We're not going there. You talk about the company that we're going to produce records.
Yeah.
And then your employees get to go, what? I mean, I thought we were going to be this, I thought this is where we're moving.
I really think about I kind of go to Walt Disney, and his brother, what his brother really did for him, because Walt could just dream a million ideas.
Yeah.
Literally, he had so many ideas. They're actually still producing,
Yeah.
creating ideas he had way back then. But his brother said, you know what, Walt, we're going to put all of your ideas in the drawer. I don't want you to stop. But every year we're going to pick one.
Yeah.
We're going to pick two.
Right.
And when those are done, I'll let you pick another one. What happens to your team when you start chasing a different idea every 2 years?
Oh, man. You get exhausted.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you've changed this.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Like, we never get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, to end some of this conversation is that when we don't see companies invest in their own vision, in the always, but also in the horizon, we see companies who are chasing their tails.
Yeah.
They are chasing things that are on the different paths, and employees do get exhausted. But we also see an exhaustion from them, but they don't know what it's from sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I don't know why we've been stuck at this revenue. I don't know why. And it's like you start digging into it, and it's like, because you don't have a North Star pointing you in a direction. You don't have an end result that you're trying to move towards. And on the always vision, we have to remember we're going to think of it as an end result. Like, hey, when we get there, we've arrived. But the flag is, no, we're not arrived. Go to the next.
We're well on our way.
Yeah.
We're well on our way.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Right?
So you've been talking a little bit about aligning your team is where we've kind of landed. So lean into that about how do we and why is it important to align your team and your horizon vision?
Yeah, and I think practically we have to cascade it to all the teams of the company. So if you want true alignment, there has to be a way for you to clearly articulate what your thinking is on the horizon. So 3 to 5 years out, we talked about the revenue, we talked about the characteristics, and we talked about these milestones. What are these things that we're going to invest in? Some people might hear those things and think, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. You don't want to push people off just because you have big dreams. And you don't want to push people off because they don't know where they're at. So there's a balance there or where they're going or where they're at. So there's a balance there of let's make it digestible. Let's say, hey, this next year we're going to communicate to our employees of what the next 2 or 3 look like. And so sometimes some of these things are held at an executive level or a leadership team level because you don't want to exhaust your employees and you don't want them to panic. Right. Some might see it as like, these initiatives mean that I may not have a job. And we've seen this. It's like, wait a minute, we're going to invest in this software. We're going to invest in artificial intelligence. That means I won't have a job. Yeah. It's like, no, that's not what we're trying to do here. So you do have to break it down in a way. So when you want to align your teams, it has to be practical enough to where you say, hey, next 2 or 3 years, this is where we're headed. Here's what we're going to invest. And here's how it affects you as an employee.
Yeah, you had some bonus content in there for another day. But talk about a leadership principle. Learning, it's not about hiding information, it's about managing information.
Yes,
and we've got to learn how to manage information and release it at the right time.
Yes.
So we're not creating panic. But when I think about, I love this part of the conversation because I love team. I love team. And I love everyone on the team, even if you're an organization that has teams of teams.
Yeah.
If every individual on every team, and every team knows how what they do is helping us get to where we want to be, so we can move out of this daily, like, well, all I do is tasks. All I do is this. No. That is not all you do.
Right.
You're a part of this, which goes here, which is helping this. And it impacts our community this way. It helps households this way. You're a part of that. When they can attach what they do here to what's going on out here.
Yeah, exactly.
You really get this engagement that you're talking about.
And you're bringing it down to their level of, I shouldn't say bringing it down, but you're bringing it to their level to where they can then say, okay, when I do this, it is helping in this.
Right.
And they can attach it to the organization. So what I think is important is that we're talking about all these things, but when you listen to it, you're like, so what do I do? Right? And I think we had some things that you can list there that are very tangible. One, get your team together and just look at the 10 plus year, the always vision, and say, what do we want our company to look like in 10 plus years? think outside the box. I always encourage get the engineer brains in the room, but also get these imaginative visionaries in the room.
Right.
And sometimes they might not be in a leadership level. That's okay. Invite them in the room to imagine what the company could look like. We just have to be clear that there's no promises here. This is just a discussion.
Right.
Something you say all the time. It's a discussion,
Yeah.
not a decision. But then you list, what's the revenue that makes sense? Now you want to do this more as a leadership team. What's the revenue that we think that makes sense and why? For example, you say, maybe this revenue is 2 or 3 times of what you are now, but it took you 5 years to get to where you are now. So how does it make sense in 10 years we're at this 3 or 4 times? Well, you have to think about things that compound. Right. And so I always ask people like, well, whatever you think, just maybe add a little bit to it because the things you're investing in now will compound, right? So this is an imagination piece. So this is the tangible part. Get them together, go through those things, list out the characteristics, list out the revenue, and then talk about some of those things that you want to see in the company. And then with your horizon vision, same thing. What do we need to do, start doing today that will lead to this 3 to 5 years out that we want it to be, what we want it to look like? This is where you get to those milestones. We've got to have this. We've got to start investing in this kind of software. If we want to expand in different territories, we have to have consistency. How are we going to do that? Well, right. There's these things that we need to work towards. And we'll talk about this in the winning strategy, but essentially, if you don't do that, you can't figure out what you need to do next year.
There's no strategy. When you're talking about those, that 3 to 5 year and what are the 3 to 5 milestones, you have to know your current state.
Yeah.
Somewhere you got to make room to really identify, get clear about your current state. Once you have your current state, you can begin to fill in, okay, so in 3 years from now, where do we think our market will be, or the industry that we're in?
Yeah.
Where do we think this industry is going in 3 years?
Sometimes it
so
takes
what
a
are
little
the things
education
that we need? And it will become. Listen, you're in your business for a reason.
Right.
You're better at it probably than you think. You know more. You've learned more than you're giving yourself credit for.
Yeah, it's a good encouragement. Yeah.
You have these observational skills. It will become intuitive. You'll just be able to see those big things, and your team around you, trust them.
Yeah.
They'll help you fill in those blanks to get there.
Yeah. Good stuff. So I encourage you, create your own always vision, create your own horizon vision, put it on paper, and don't be afraid to cascade this to teams, but manage how you do it, why you do it, and we'll see you on the next video as we talk about purpose.
Goals never die, souls gotta fly high. I'm taking off to the sky, and with every day that goes by, I'm making sure that it counts. It don't matter what's the amount, you only get now.